Picture this. It's the 19th century. The gas lights of London are trying to cut through this thick, grimy fog. Factories are churning, and a whole new generation of working-class folks can read, and they are hungry for entertainment. But what they're reading, well, it's about to spark a nationwide panic. And right at the heart of it all was one terrifying whispered rumor that turned stomachs and completely captivated a nation.
Chilling, isn't it? Yeah, that's the horrifying secret at the center of one of the Victorian era's most popular stories. It's a tale that really tapped into the deepest fears of city life, and it all starts with a very, very particular barber.
You've probably heard of Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street. You know the one, the man who slits his customers' throats and has his accomplice, Mrs. Lovett, bake them into pies. But his story didn't just pop out of some timeless legend or ancient folklore. Nope. It was born in a new, cheap, and totally sensational form of mass media. A form of media that would, well, change absolutely everything.
Meet the penny dreadful. For just a single penny, you could buy the next installment of a thrilling story. And look, these weren't just books, okay? This was Britain's first real taste of mass-produced popular culture. It was the Victorian equivalent of binge-watching a TV show or getting lost in a video game. And Sweeney Todd's first appearance, in a story called The String of Pearls, was really just the beginning.
So, why were millions of people so obsessed with these gruesome tales? To get that, you really have to understand the world they were trying to escape from.
I mean, to really get the appeal, you just have to look at the contrast. For the working class, real life was often pretty bleak. Brutal hours, grim living conditions, not a lot of hope. But the penny dreadfuls, they were a portal to a world of dashing highwaymen, terrifying vampires, and heroes who lived by their own rules. It was pure, exhilarating escapism.
And the scale here, it was absolutely staggering. Thanks to rising literacy rates and new printing tech, by the 1860s, these presses were churning out over 1 million of these periodicals every single week. We're not talking about some niche hobby here. This was a cultural tidal wave.
But here's the thing. Was this fascination with crime really just for the working class? Turns out, not even close. This obsession with crime and secrets had seeped into every level of society. It just wore a more respectable disguise.
Right, so for the middle and upper classes, the ones who could afford a bit more, there was something called sensation fiction. These were the respectable novels that brought the thrill of crime right out of the dark alleys and smack into the heart of the Victorian home.
And the differences, they were pretty stark. Penny dreadfuls were for the streets. Sensation novels were for the drawing room. The price was 12 times higher, and honestly, so were the stakes. The crimes weren't supernatural horror, they were domestic terror. We're talking bigamy, fraud, poison. The monster wasn't in some far-off castle. It was potentially sitting right next to you at the dinner table.
So at the end of the day, it didn't matter if you were a factory worker or a lady of leisure. The message was coming through loud and clear. Crime wasn't just out there, it was everywhere. And that reflected this deep anxiety that the carefully constructed social order was way more fragile than anyone wanted to admit.
And all that anxiety, it was about to boil over, because with millions of young, working-class boys just devouring these tales of rebellion and crime, well, the establishment started to get really nervous. This wasn't just entertainment anymore. No, this was seen as a threat.
I mean, just listen to this quote. It's from a competing publisher, and it captures the mood perfectly. The penny dreadfuls became the scapegoat, blamed for corrupting the youth and fueling a crime wave. And this, right here, this was the birth of the very first media-driven moral panic.
The way the media and the critics argued this was, well, it was simple, but also deeply flawed. Okay, so it goes like this. A boy reads a story about a crime. Then, a similar crime happens in real life. They find the story in the boy's possession, and boom, the conclusion they all jump to, the story caused the crime. Of course, what they conveniently ignored was the fact that pretty much every boy owned these things. It's a classic case, right? Confusing correlation with causation.
But let's be honest, what was the real fear here? Was it actually about crime? Not really. It was about control. Think about it. You have a newly literate working class. For the first time, they're not just learning to read, they're choosing what to read. And they're choosing these amazing stories of ambition, of wealth, of defiant authority. And all of that, well, to the Victorian elite, that was a huge threat to the established social order. That was the most dreadful thing of all.
Now, this whole backlash against penny dreadfuls, it might seem like some quaint relic from a bygone era, right? But the pattern it set, oh, that is anything but history. This exact pattern just echoes through history. Seriously, the names change, the media changes, but the story, it stays the same. So in the 1890s, it's penny dreadfuls. Fast forward to the 1950s, and suddenly comic books are the enemy, leading to Senate hearings. Then in the 80s, it was heavy metal music and TV. And in our lifetimes, you know it, it's been video games. Every new form of entertainment for young people has faced the exact same accusations.
And this really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? These moral panics, they're never really about the comic book or the video game or the penny dreadful itself. They're a mirror. They reflect a society's deepest fears. Fears about changing values, about new technology, and maybe most of all, about a younger generation that's slipping from the control of its elders.
So, that kind of leaves us with one last question to think about for ourselves. From social media to AI, what are the penny dreadfuls of our time? What new things are we blaming for our problems? And maybe more importantly, what do those fears truly reveal about us?